So AgXcel's GX1 is our single pump, single product application system. This system right here would be the GX1. We always include the red ball sight glasses with it as well. Depending on how many rows you have on your implement will vary on how many sight glasses we're using. The GX1 is best suited for smaller bars, so 12 rows and smaller, and in-furrow application. So most guys, if you're doing 5 miles an hour, 5 gallon per acre, even if you're doing a little more, a little less, the GX1 would be able to handle that. The biggest difference between the GX1 and say our GX2 and GX3 series of pumps is that it's only a single product pump. It's only a single pump system, but the main thing is that you lose your electric PWM driver. You also lose your flow meter with that as well, and you can't run it off of an auto rate controller. The way this is ran is with our Mannix controller. The Mannix is simply just a rheostat controller. So you have your on-off switch, you have a dial that's listed to go from 0 to 10. The numbers on the dial don't correlate with what rate you would be putting out. We have a chart, it's included in the manual that's included with the system. Look on page 46 in our current manual that we have of the making of this video, and that'll show for 30-inch spacing. There are different spacings charts that we have. Just flip through the pages and they're all in the same area. You'll see the spacing for your bar. So when running the system, when you first turn the pump on, you'll see once the system primes, you'll see your floating balls moving. We always add this sticker on our pressure gauges, and we recommend that you run the pump anywhere from 10 to 20 PSI. You usually don't want to fall below 10 PSI, because what'll happen is you might not get enough pressure to open up the check valves at the row, so then you're not going to get a steady application and a consistent stream. You also don't want to get your pressure too high above 20 pounds, because what that's going to do is your pump is going to start to get hotter, it's going to have to work harder, and heat is the biggest killer of these pumps. So your pump's not going to last you as long. On average, guys can get about 4 to 5 years out of these if they stay within 10 to 20 pounds. I've seen guys go 8 years with these before they have to change them out. So just know the pump is a wear component, and as long as you keep it within the 10 to 20 pound range, that pump's going to last you quite a while. So if I want to find my rate, I'm going to pull up my chart for 30 inches. Right now I have a black orifice inside my check valves. So if I look where my black is, let's say I want to do 5 gallons per acre. I see at 20 pounds of pressure, I would be doing about 4.86 at 4 miles an hour. Let's say if I'm traveling at 5 miles an hour, 30 pounds of pressure would give me 4.77 gallons an acre. So my pressure would be too high. Preferably I would put in a larger orifice. In this case though, I'm just gonna raise it. I know I'd have to run it just a little over 30 pounds of pressure to be able to get my 5 gallon per acre rate. If I want to confirm what I'm actually putting out at the row, I have to do a catch test at the row. So I get my measuring cup, go back to the row, I time for 1 minute, and I see what I caught in that 1 minute. If it's what I should be catching per row per minute, then I'm good to go. Just remember, if you change your mile an hour speed, then you're gonna have to change your dial. Your pressure is going to change. Same thing if you change your gallon per acre rate, you're going to have to change this. As you're driving down the field, make sure you look back every once in a while. Keep an eye on the pressure. Make sure the pressure is what it should be at for what you made notes of. So you also want to keep an eye on your sight glasses as well. Make sure the balls are all floating consistently to make sure you're getting the same amount of fluid out per row. So this GX1, as you see it here, we configure it like this for you. So we put the pump on the GX1 for you. This would be your inlet side on the right side when you're looking at the system. This 3/4 inch hose here would be coming from your tank. We will go through the inlet filter. We're gonna go into the pump. We will then come out of the pump into our outlet filter. Over here, we have a bleeder valve on this T here. It helps to prime the system. So if you're having issues getting the pump initially to prime, open up this bleeder valve. It's a lot easier to push air through this 1/4 inch bleeder valve than it is through those smaller orifices at every single row. So if you're having issues priming, opening that bleeder valve. You'll come out of a hose barb up here. This hose barb, you can then run to your manifold, and a lot of times we'll plumb that for you. In this scenario, how I'm running this with our GX12i injector system, I'm coming out of the GX1, going into the injector, and then coming back to the red balls. But usually what you're gonna see is we'll have it plumbed coming out of here, and we'll run the 3/4 inch hose just behind this pressure gauge. We'll have a hose barb here, and then all you have to do is put a U-bolt on your toolbar, mount the GX1, and then run the tubing from your sight glasses down to the check valves at the row, and then down to your application point at the row unit. So the Mannix controller has 3 plugs on the bottom of it, and they're both labeled down here. So you have your power, this is your 12-volt power. Make sure you run the power directly to the battery of the tractor. Don't run it off of any sort of accessory port in the cab. It has to go directly to the battery of that tractor. Don't splice it with any other wires, just directly to the battery. What'll happen is when you're sitting still, it might work fine, it might not. But let's say it does work fine. But as you start driving down the field, everything else starts taking power. You can take power away from the Mannix, and then it's not gonna be able to give the pump enough power. You might not be able to reach your target rate. Causes all kinds of problems. So make sure your power is going directly to the battery with the power cable that we provide for you. The next lead that you're looking at is for the pump. So as it states, you're gonna run the extension cable that comes with the system directly into the pump. Coming off the top of the pump here, there's about a 1-foot-long lead. You'll plug directly into that. The last one here is switch. That simply means your implement switch. The GX1 and the Mannix setup will come with an implement switch. It's just your simple spring whisker switch. Go ahead, put that on the bar. A lot of guys will put it by the row unit. Every bar is a little different, so put it where it best fits for you. Also with the Mannix, you have 3 lights here. So 12 volt will be green, simply meaning that you have power going to the system. Your fault light can also vary on diagnostics. Sometimes it'll blink. It can turn on depending on which kind of Mannix that you have. So that'll be a simple diagnostics. Typically, if it's on red, the pump system might not be running, or there might be an issue with the power cable or the power source. That's what it is most of the time. So take a look at that if that fault light is constantly staying on. The last one here is your hold. So if your implement is in the up position, either if you're sitting still at the end of the field in the driveway, you're trying to run the system, but the pump's not turning on even though your switch isn't on, check to see if that red light for hold is on. It could just be that that implement switch is being triggered. If you're picking up the implement to turn around and you're not putting the switch in off and you're just using the implement switch, you'll see that hold switch turn red. So in this case, I'll just toggle the implement switch myself. And you'll see the pump turns off, the red hold light will come on. If I toggle the implement switch so that the implement's in the down position, the hold light goes away and the pump starts running again. If I turn the controller off, you'll see all my lights are off. My 12-volt light is off. Sometimes when guys have power issues as well, going to the rheostat controller, when they try to turn it on, the green light will not come on. That's also another just quick diagnostics without having to get a voltmeter. You know, hey, probably getting less than 12 volt, even though I have it on and I know it's going to a power source. This is probably where my issue is coming from.